In 2007, BlackBerry CEO laughed at the iPhone, calling it a toy that would never succeed in business. 3 years later, BlackBerry was fighting for survival. BlackBerry once dominated the smartphone world so completely that addiction to their devices earned the nickname Crackberry. They held 50% of the US smartphone market, were the go-to choice for presidents and CEOs, and seemed unstoppable. But in just 5 years, they went from industry titan to corporate cautionary tale. This is the story of how the company that invented the smartphone got blindsided by their own success and lost everything to a device they never saw coming. BlackBerry's story begins in 1984, when two engineering students, Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Fragan, founded Research in Motion in Waterloo, Canada. But their breakthrough wouldn't come for over a decade. In 1999, RIM launched the BlackBerry 850, a revolutionary device that could send and receive emails wirelessly. While other companies were focused on voice calls, BlackBerry saw the future in data. Their breakthrough was the push email technology. Emails appeared instantly on your device without manually checking for them. This was revolutionary. The timing was perfect. The dot-com boom was creating a generation of always connected professionals who needed constant access to email. BlackBerry's physical QWERTY keyboard made typing emails fast and accurate, something that would become their signature feature and biggest competitive advantage. By 2003, BlackBerry had become a status symbol. If you carried a BlackBerry, you were important. You were connected. You were part of the digital elite. Corporate executives, government officials, and celebrities all carried BlackBerries. The device became so addictive that people called it Crackberry. Users were constantly checking emails, even during family dinners and vacations. BlackBerry's dominance peaked between 2004 and 2008. They had created an entire ecosystem around their devices. BlackBerry Enterprise Server allowed companies to manage thousands of devices securely. Their messaging platform, BlackBerry Messenger, or BBM, became the WhatsApp of its era, allowing free messaging between BlackBerry users worldwide. Security was BlackBerry's crown jewel. Their encryption was so robust that even governments couldn't crack it. This made them the undisputed choice for corporations, military, and government agencies. President Obama famously fought to keep his BlackBerry when entering the White House, calling it his lifeline. By 2007, BlackBerry controlled 50% of the US smartphone market. They were selling millions of devices quarterly. Their stock price had increased 100-fold since 1999, and they seemed invincible. RIM's co-CEOs, Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsillie, were hailed as visionaries who had created the future of mobile computing. But on January 9, 2007, everything changed. Steve Jobs walked onto a stage in San Francisco and said 5 words that would eventually destroy BlackBerry. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. The iPhone represented everything BlackBerry wasn't. Where BlackBerry was business-focused, the iPhone was consumer-oriented. Where BlackBerry emphasized security and email, the iPhone prioritized entertainment and ease of use. Most importantly, where BlackBerry relied on physical keyboards, the iPhone went all in on a revolutionary touchscreen. BlackBerry's leadership didn't just dismiss the iPhone, they openly mocked it. Jim Balsillie said, "It's kind of one more entrant into an already very busy space with lots of choice for consumers." Mike Lazaridis was even more dismissive, questioning how anyone could type on a touchscreen and noting the iPhone's poor battery life. They weren't entirely wrong. The first iPhone had significant limitations. It couldn't copy and paste text, had no physical keyboard, poor battery life, and was expensive. BlackBerry's leadership believed their business customers would never abandon secure, keyboard-equipped devices for what they saw as a consumer toy. BlackBerry's response to the iPhone revealed their fundamental misunderstanding of the market shift happening beneath them. They continued focusing on their core business customers, while Apple rapidly improved the iPhone and, more importantly, opened it up to consumers. The iPhone's App Store, launched in 2008, changed everything. Suddenly, smartphones weren't just communication devices, they were entertainment platforms, gaming consoles, cameras, GPS navigators, and whatever else developers could imagine. BlackBerry had no answer to this ecosystem approach. BlackBerry's attempts to modernize were too little, too late, and often misguided. The BlackBerry Storm, launched in 2008 as their iPhone competitor, was a disaster. The touchscreen was poorly implemented, the software was buggy, and it satisfied neither BlackBerry's traditional business users nor new consumers attracted to touchscreen devices. Meanwhile, Google entered the race with Android in 2008, providing manufacturers with a free alternative to Apple's closed system. This created a two-horse race between iOS and Android, with BlackBerry increasingly marginalized. BlackBerry failed to recognize that the line between business and consumer devices was disappearing. Employees wanted to use their personal smartphones for work, a trend called Bring Your Own Device, or BYOD. IT departments, traditionally BlackBerry's biggest advocates, found themselves pressured to support iPhones and Android devices. The rise of social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram created new use cases that BlackBerry's business-focused devices couldn't address effectively. Young professionals entering the workforce had grown up with consumer technology and expected their work devices to be just as intuitive and feature-rich. BlackBerry's messaging advantage also eroded. WhatsApp, launched in 2009, provided BlackBerry Messenger's functionality across all platforms. iMessage gave iPhone users a similar experience. BBM, once BlackBerry's exclusive advantage, became a liability as users couldn't message friends on other platforms. The beginning of the end came in 2011 with a global BlackBerry outage that lasted 3 days. Millions of users worldwide couldn't access email, BBM, or internet services. For a company whose entire value proposition was reliable, always-on communication, this was catastrophic. But the real death blow was BlackBerry's response to market changes. Instead of revolutionary products, they delivered evolutionary updates to devices that were fundamentally outdated. The BlackBerry Playbook tablet, launched in 2011, shipped without basic email functionality, an inexcusable oversight for a company known for email. By 2012, BlackBerry's market share had collapsed. The iPhone and Android devices dominated consumer markets, and even enterprise customers were switching. BlackBerry's stock price, which had peaked at over $230 in 2008, fell below $10. The final nail in the coffin was BlackBerry 10, launched in 2013. This was supposed to be BlackBerry's comeback, a modern operating system that could compete with iOS and Android. But it was 5 years too late. The platform launched with virtually no apps, no Instagram, no Netflix, and no mainstream consumer applications that users expected. BlackBerry's downfall wasn't due to bad technology. Their devices were well-built, secure, and reliable. They failed because they misunderstood how quickly consumer preferences could shift and how the smartphone market was evolving from a business tool to a personal computing platform. Their biggest strength, focusing on business customers and security, became their weakness when the market moved toward consumer-friendly devices. They were so successful with their existing model that they couldn't see the disruption coming from an entirely different direction. Today, BlackBerry has pivoted to software and services, particularly cybersecurity and automotive software. They're profitable, but no longer a consumer brand. Their smartphones, once symbols of power and connectivity, are museum pieces, reminders of how quickly technology giants can fall when they fail to adapt. The BlackBerry story teaches us that in technology, yesterday's breakthrough becomes tomorrow's liability faster than ever. No company, no matter how dominant, is immune to disruption. Sometimes the biggest threat doesn't come from your competitors. It comes from companies redefining what your product should be entirely. BlackBerry didn't just lose to the iPhone, they lost to a completely different vision of what a smartphone could become. The rise and fall of tech giants never gets old. Click the video appearing on your screen to see how another industry leader fell from grace in record time.